Hi, welcome to today's lesson. I'm looking very forward to spending time with you. And once again, we're talking about diversity, change and continuity, and we're focusing on fossils. Now, in this first segment, we're going to be looking at humans, fossils, and fossil tourism. Now, that sounds very strange, but let's uncover this a little bit more. Is it important to study the origins of humans? Well, we like to know where we came from, where you and I come from. Little children often ask their parents, tell me more about Granny and Granddad. Tell me where we came from. Where did we used to live? Which part of the country did we used to live in? And so we think back to our grandparents or our great-grandparents, and we like to know where we came from. We want to know about our family's history, about our country's history, about our culture's history, and we're taught all of this at school. So why should it be any different for our species history? We need to know more than just where our grandparents came from and their grandparents came from. It interests many people to know where we came from as a species, and that's the focus of today's lesson. A study of human evolution uncovers the origin of our species, Homo sapiens. And last week, remember, we saw ways that were similar to, but also different from other primates. And we need to understand those, but we also need to see how we are distinct as a species from other hominids. For example, Homo erectus, or Homo habilis, or Homo neanderthalensis. We need to see what makes Homo sapiens a distinct species apart from these other Homo species or members of the Homo genus that have actually gone extinct. And so the study of human evolution encompasses many scientific disciplines, including anthropology, archaeology, paleontology, even linguistics, and more so genetics. We're able to look at the genes of our modern humans to try and find ways in which we can explain where we came from. So these disciplines look to human evolution to provide answers for the many questions we can ask relating to who we are today and where we came from. In South Africa, there are many places where these places have been turned into tourism venues. Now, the tourism venues are there to protect the fossils, first of all, but also to educate the public about fossils and about paleontology. Now, I want you to think back a good couple of weeks to when we spoke about something called ecotourism. Do you remember when we looked at ecotourism, we said that this is not just taking a luxury holiday. Ecotourism is a very specific kind of tourism where the local environment is protected. It's exposed to tourists who can come and learn about a protected environment, also have leisure and relax in that environment. But very significantly, profits that are made from the tourist ventures are placed back into that tourism venture itself to protect that area, and the profits also go to the people living in that area, and that's what made ecotourism so special. Now, fossil tourism is something very similar. We have this enormous fossil record. We also established that last week in South Africa, a hugely important amount of fossil scientific research going on, but all of those fossil sites need to be protected. At the same time, we need to educate the public about fossils and about where we came from. What better idea than to combine education, tourism, and fossils together and come up with something called fossil tourism? tourism. And fossil tourism has such a lot in common with ecotourism. It's really ecotourism about fossils. So, venues that have museums and other tourist attractions create employment for local communities, as well as education for the tourists, as well as protecting those hugely important fossils. I think in South Africa, one of our most famous sites for fossil tourism is the area called the Cradle of Humankind in and around Sterkfontein. There's a wealth of fossils of human ancestors that have been found in the site, and the area has been made into a World Heritage Site. And we have two world-class museums, Morupeng and Sterkfontein, where people can visit the sites to learn more about how humans evolved. Visitors can see exciting fossils and models that have been built using the fossils, remains of eagles and saber-toothed cats and giant zebras and even giant dussies from the late Cenozoic, organisms that lived at the same time that our ancient ancestors were evolving. I will see you after the break, and we're going to be discussing fossil tourism in more detail.